The definition of motivation eluded me for a long time. In my mind, it almost became this weird, magical phenomenon. But the base concept of motivation is actually quite simple. No matter the life you live, motivation is important to understand. So if you are confused like I was or simply find a struggle in increasing or maintaining your motivation, I will give a strong overview in this video that will help you out. Alright, let's make a graph. First, we have the threshold of action. Pass this line and you do the thing. And here we have our motivation for something, and it can move and fluctuate like this. I will do it, I won't do it, I will do it, I won't do it. You get the point. Now, the threshold of action is just a line of doing or not doing. But depending on how far we move into either area, there's more to be said about your motivation as well. Ranging from, I would rather die than do this, to, I don't really want this, to, I'll do the bare minimum. All the way up to, I will spend my every breathing moment on this. Anyway, our motivation is not a singular thing. Instead, it is built up out of more little things. As a matter of fact, the definition of motivation is a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. As an example, we can talk about my motivation for exercising today. I have two reasons here. I want to be strong and I want to be healthy. Two things forming one motivation. Like I mentioned earlier, it can fluctuate, and that is based on these underlying motives. If I care a little bit more about becoming strong, it goes up. If I care a little bit less about being healthy, it goes down. At the other end, there can also be reasons not to do something. Let's say I only slept 4 hours today. Or maybe as I go through my day, my energy runs lower and lower. So we are running into our first problem here. Day-to-day emotions, aspirations and moods will fluctuate wildly, so if your motivation is bound to those things, it will be very unstable too. If you add time to the equation, you are bound to fail somewhere along the way. We can, however, do a few things to both increase and stabilize our motivation in an attempt to minimize the chance of failure. First, the simple method. We can emphasize our motives by writing them down and diving deeper into the why of each motive. Usually our motives slip away from our mind over time, but having it in writing makes sure it is available to read anytime your motivation drops. Next, if a new reason to do something presents itself, we should allow it to be there. For example, I had these two reasons to work out when I was a teenager, but at the time I was like, I don't care for looks, I'm not a bitch, fuck that. Now, behind my little teenage facade, I actually did care for looks. But because some identity ego bullshit got in the way, I was essentially blocking my motivation to work out harder. Don't get in your own way and allow yourself to be yourself. Now, based on these things, your motivation could still fluctuate. To create a strong minimum of motivation, you will need habits and discipline. These two things are not based on emotion and are therefore much more constant. I've explained one process of creating habits in a previous video, so I won't go into it here. Instead, let's go back to the graph and highlight some important things. So like I said, when you barely pass the threshold of action, you might do some minimum work. But what if you only perceive something as success at some higher point? Success then is no longer about doing or not doing, but becomes based on this line of perception. The problem with this is that failing actually leads to a drop in motivation, which can lead to failures until the point that giving up feels like the right thing to do. The good thing is that there is a positive version of this too. Repeated success allows you to start identifying as a person who is successful. This is incredibly powerful and will help you in maintaining your success in the future. So one big challenge in doing something new is keeping the bar low. The moment you raise the bar, the moment you expect yourself to do these crazy things, is when the threat of failure can easily drag you down. It can feel counterintuitive at first, but keep the bar low. The final thing I'd like to say before the end of this video is that no matter how many activities you can choose from, you can only focus on and pursue a select few things, and generally only do one at a time. The fact that you don't do certain things in a given moment doesn't mean you don't care for those things or lack motivation, rather you are just focusing on something else. For example, if an athlete who works out daily suddenly gets injured, he might find motivation for reading. Maybe if he doesn't read, he will watch some shows or play games. I personally think it's interesting to think about what is next in line if you weren't pursuing your current activities. Things might already be above the threshold of action, but just waiting in line for you to take a break from your usual ongoings. Motivation can seem tricky, but if you ever get confused, just think of a simple graph or keep in mind the definition. And if you're looking to increase motivation, just apply simple and straightforward strategies to see results.